Can you all hear me in the back? You can hear me? Or volume up a little bit? Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is David Garber. I'm the Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner for 6D07, which is the district generally bounded by the freeway to the north, the Anacostia River to the south, New Jersey Avenue and South Capitol Street to the west. And I'll just talk closer to the mic if that's okay. Does that work? Okay. I'm David Garber. I represent this neighborhood, essentially. I'm happy to see so many familiar faces in the room, as well as many of you who I don't yet know, but look forward to meeting. And I'm glad that all of you have the opportunity to learn more about this community issue from neighbors as well as from Mayor Gray. Although the ANC has been involved in the proposal to rebuild the Virginia Avenue CSX train tunnel for a number of years, my role and the role of my fellow commissioners grew significantly in September of last year when it became clear that residents' concerns about the proposal were not being addressed by federal and local review of this project proposed by CSX Transportation. Residents of this and adjacent neighborhoods have done an incredible job of educating themselves on the draft environmental impact statement and with finding the right experts to ask the right questions. And here we are today. This evening we have with us Mayor Gray. Thank you, Mayor, for hearing the calls for a meeting and for taking the time to sit down with us, the residents, homeowners, seniors, commuters, parents, and business owners of the Navy Yard, Capitol Hill, and Southwest waterfront neighborhoods. We very much appreciate your attention to this important matter. Thank you also to Ward 6 DC Council candidates Darrell Thompson and to Charles Allen for your attendance, to Capitol Riverfront BID President Michael Stevens, a number of ANC commissioners from across Southeast and Southwest, including Nicole Opkins and Kirsten Oldenburg. We're happy to have the District Department of Transportation and the Federal Highways Administration, and of course CSX with us this evening, and we thank them for taking the time to meet with the community. We are fortunate that a number of DC agency representatives are also with us today. The agenda this evening will begin with a brief overview of community concerns after hearing from Mayor Gray. Mayor Gray will first give his presentation of the topic, and DDOT will then follow his presentation. After the community concerns, we'll have community questions and answers, where you all will have the opportunity to share what it is that you have concerns about with regards to this project. A special thanks to Nando's down at the Boilermaker shops in the yards for providing this evening's refreshments.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all very much for coming out. I'm delighted to be here to be able to hear the expression of concerns on the part of the community. We're going to make this mercifully brief so that you all can get to what you want to get to. And I can hear as much as I possibly can about the project and the concerns that have been raised. Obviously, this is an illustration of what we're talking about here. I think we all know that this is a tunnel that's in question. It's been around for decades. That is a conveyance, if you will, for freight trains that are owned and operated by CSX, and that the project essentially would try to upgrade the quality of the tunnel, would expand it, and then there are probably aspects of this that you already know that I'm not going to repeat. A tunnel that's somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000 feet long, and it's part of the National Gateway Initiative. The cost of this, from what I understand, will be quite expensive, somewhere between $160 and $200 million, all of which will be borne by CSX if this project were to go forward. The project, again, as I understand it, has been around now, at least in a formal sense, since 2011, when the NEPA process was launched, which will be one method through which, a key method through which will be determined.
Back here, we can't hear anything.
Well, come on down.
We cannot hear back here.
Come on.
We cannot hear back here.
Okay, well, the only thing I can do is use the microphone I'll give. You can come on up front if you like. Come on down. Can we wait for this lady? Can you come on down?
We need more room back here. People cannot hear what the child here going on.
Well, I can't expand the room. This is the room that was chosen. Can you come on down a little closer?
There's seats here. But some people can come in, yeah. Otherwise, you know, we're just going to sit down here and shout.
Well, I mean, if we could get more people in the room, I'd be happy to do that. This was the room that was chosen at the request, I think, of the community. There's a couple of seats in here also if people want to grab those seats. Ma'am, would you like to come down? Hello? Well, you come on in too.
Come on. Come on. Fill them up.
One of the key issues obviously is to determine compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act, which is properly known as the NEPA process. There are lots of agencies involved in this. The Federal Railroad Administration, the National Park Service, the National Capital Planning Commission, and also the U.S. Marine Corps will weigh in on this project as well. DDOT's role is somewhat limited, although important in this project. They are to work with, already are working with the Federal Highway Administration on the NEPA process. And if there is an approved alternative to go forward with this, if there is such a thing, then DDOT would be involved in the permitting of this process to be able to go forward. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to ask Faisal Hamid if he would come up. He is on our DDOT staff. Come on up, man. You got lots of paper there. We are, honestly, we're going to try to keep this short so that I can hear the concerns. Once Faisal finishes, I think the community is going to do a presentation and overview of the concerns. We have our staff here who will make sure that we have properly chronicled all of those concerns, some of which we probably know, some of which our staff probably have heard innumerable times. But we'll be happy to hear them again. And I can promise you, those who know me know that I take these things very seriously. I wouldn't come out just to simply go through an exercise. So we will take these things seriously, and we'll try to come back with informed responses, recognizing that we already are involved in this NEPA process, and that will have a role to play in what is done as well. So again, there are lots of federal agencies. There's one DC agency, DDOT, which is our agency. You've got private sector agencies, and of course we all know that this is a CSX project that's being proposed here. So again, thank you all for coming out tonight. Are you ready to do your presentation, Faisal? Are you all set? Here you go. Here you go.
Can everybody hear me? I guess. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll quickly go through some talking points that I have. A lot of you may have heard this before, so I'm quickly going to summarize the things we have done before and the steps that we have taken, and then also the next steps. And after that, I think we'll hand it over to Mr. Garver. As the mayor spoke, we are in the federal environmental process. We have prepared a draft environmental impact statement with Federal Highway Administration and Michael Hicks from Federal Highway. Is it better? Yeah. Okay. So we are working with Federal Highway Administration as the lead federal agency on this project, and Michael Hicks from Federal Highway Administration is here with us today as well. As the mayor described, the project is almost 3,800 feet long, and we are working with a number of other federal agencies, including the National Park Service, the National Capital Planning Commission, and the U.S. Marine Corps, as well as Federal Railroad Administration on this project. And of course, CSX is the sponsor of this project. In terms of timeline, we started this project the NEPA process officially in 2011. Since then, a draft EIS was released, and during that time, we held 3 public meetings. In addition, after the draft EIS was released, we held a public hearing, and we have received a number of comments. So thank you for providing those comments, and we've talked with a number of individuals during the process. There were a number of alternatives analyzed in that EIS, and based on the input that we have received, the next step will be to complete the final EIS, release it to the public, and then make a final decision. After that, the design process for the project can start if indeed the decision is made to move forward, and then construction will follow after that. I've actually also provided a handout. We had close to 100 some copies. I'm not sure there would be enough today. Sorry, I did not expect that many. But I will send that handout to Melissa, and if you wouldn't mind just doing that. So quickly, that's where we are. The next step is, I know there's a project website as well if you want more information. But the next step actually is the agencies, Federal Highway and DDOT, is working on finalizing the final environmental impact statement, which will include all the comments that you have provided to us, and it will also include sections on how we have addressed those comments. So that will be the next step in the next few months, and then a decision can be made on the project. So with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Garber.
Thank you, Mr. Hamid. Now we're going to hear from some residents with some specific community concerns. These are essentially overview concerns. I know that a number of you have specific issues that you'll want to raise to the mayor yourselves. I'm going to start with Melissa Lee, who is a resident of this neighborhood and lives at the corner of 4th and Virginia Avenue Southeast.
All right, Melissa.
Thank you, David, for this, and also for your tireless support of making sure our voices are heard. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for joining us this evening. We very much appreciate you coming out to hear about the Virginia Avenue expansion plan, as a tunnel expansion plan, as we call it. Just to give everybody a bit of background, we know a lot of you are very well informed, but we were asked to make sure we were all starting on the same page. In terms of why we're here tonight, what got us here tonight, we know CSX owns the tunnel outside. We know it runs from 2nd to 11th Street. We know that they want to expand their freight capabilities through the district, and they want to do it soon. We've been working with CSX prior to the NEPA process, actually, the National Environmental Policy Act process, which kicked in because the freeway out here would be impacted by this project on the on and off ramps. So we were lucky that we got NEPA. Absolutely. But there were a lot of conversations before those days, back in 2009, 2010, when CSX was going for federal funding for this project. They decided that when they did not receive federal funding, they would move forward with the project themselves. And we offered up solutions to how to mitigate the major impact that we saw of not just one trench, but 2 trenches in many cases. And so through the NEPA process, a number of us in this room and others have commented saying what our concerns are, what our questions are. Mr. Mayor, the reason we're here today actually is because we trusted in process. We trusted that that draft, the first draft of the environmental impact statement, would answer the questions that we'd been asking for 2 years at least. There were not answers in this 1,600-page document. This is just a portion of it. The appendices have the studies that go into it and a number of other areas of detail that don't really answer the questions, and in some cases the studies don't correspond to one another in terms of vibration and noise. There's a major lack of information from what we've seen in the draft, and at this point, 6 months after that draft's been released, we still have those questions and we need answers, and we're looking to you hopefully to help us move forward here. I would like to say that DDOT and FHWA have been responsive, as well as CSX in a number of matters. And at this point, you know, we certainly want the district's role to be strengthened, and we seek, you know, the district's leadership on this matter. let me just highlight again, we're going to be going into health, security, safety, accountability issues, and we have wonderful speakers from the community that will be presenting on this. For everyone's determination, if you've read the 1,600-page document, kudos to you. For those who have not, it is online at virginiaavenuetunnel.com and also linked via dcsaferail.org. And there's a lot more information out there. There's a lot of other studies that correspond to this out there, so I urge you to become informed. But the basics of what came forward after the NEPA process, a 2-year process started in 2011, is basically four main things after they whittled down, you know, trying to look at concepts that brought trains around the city, trying to look at boring through a tunnel. We're left with 4 options on the table of plans that CSX will move forward with. One's the no-build, they call it, which basically means they'll just leave the tunnel as is. The second is where they'll take the tunnel, open it, widen it, deepen it, and shift it slightly closer to us, and put a temporary tunnel track closer to where we're standing today and where that tunnel would be outside. And if you're familiar with outside, there's not a lot of room. The next option would be that they take the existing tunnel, open it, work there, but also create a permanent tunnel that would basically run just along the lines of the Senior Center at 5th and Virginia Avenue and a number of the homes and this building as well as the Marine Barracks and down historic homes over on the lower 8th. The last option that we're presented with is taking the tunnel, opening it, widening it, shifting it, bringing it closer to everybody, but having freight trains run through it day and night while they're constructing on the same line. In all options, there's an open trench for construction. In all options, there's portions of the open trench where freight trains will be running through. And in all options, we're left with looking at a 3 to 6 year or beyond construction period. We want it done faster, obviously. We want some good options on the table. We're asking that temporary rerouting very much be considered again. And I'll leave it at that and allow our health expert, Helen Douglas, from the Senior Capper Building to speak to the issue on health and environment. Thank you.
First of all, I appreciate living at Arthur Caper. This is affordable housing, and I am grateful to be a recipient of affordable housing. And we stay on to getting more affordable housing. Okay, right here, okay. The Arthur Caper Seniors Building would be the closest structure to the Virginia Avenue Tunnel project. And we are the most vulnerable population affected by this proposed mega upheaval, along with children, asthmatics, and others. It is most disconcerting to imagine that the next 4 to 6 years, or beyond, which may very well be our last years, could be traumatized by health challenges brought about or amplified by double-stacked two-way freight trains zooming through day and night, transporting questionable materials at an open trench construction site, spewing polluted air, increasing noise and vibrations, inviting in rodents and pests, and causing traffic and parking nightmares. Under current proposals, we are like sitting ducks, an accident waiting to happen.
Amen. Amen.
Specifically, unleashed 8,000 square feet of asbestos from tunnel walls, fumes from former gasoline stations, dry cleaners, and a manufactured gas plant, lead in soil, and diesel fumes from running trains create high air pollution levels. Air contamination is often best managed with tree coverings. In this case, however, CSX plans to demolish the majestic and mature tree canopy along Virginia Avenue. The amount of stress brought on by any one of these issues, not to mention an accumulative dynamics of all these components, is beyond the pale. A key component to sustaining health in today's culture is to reduce stress. This proposed open trench will do exactly the opposite. The only solution offered in the CSX draft environmental impact statement was to close our windows. The reality is that we already smell cut grass with the windows closed. The whole neighborhood claims very high dust levels. Right now, we feel vibration when the trains are rolling through the car tunnel as if it were right under our building. So you can imagine how apprehensive it would be for our residents when oxygen tanks and other sensitive medical equipment are shaken as CSX digs deeper and expands Virginia Avenue to accommodate double-stacked freight cars while simultaneously operating temporary double-stack cars. The block of 5th Street, where our building entrance faces, would become closed, and all the other roads nearby would be closed or seriously impacted. This concept raises alarm for emergency access, which is always a crucial concern. We know all too well that construction projects are disruptive, dirty, noisy, and involves risk. This near southeast area has had a continuous stream of construction projects, and more are in the works. However, the difference is that these projects have brought benefits. City offices, capital ventures, affordable housing, outdoor spaces like Canal Park and Yard Park, and the Virginia Avenue Gardens. But tearing open Virginia Avenue for 6 city blocks and creating a Medlam zone raises unreasonable environmental and health risks beyond typical construction problems with no beneficial results for the returns for the community. When you consider these realities, who in their right mind would want to invite in a monstrosity like this VAT project? No one. This is totally unacceptable.
Claire Alekshak, who's a resident also of this neighborhood, right on Virginia Avenue.
Thanks, David. Thank you, David, and thank you, Mayor Gray, for being here. Today, we face safety and security risks with CSX running freight. Today, we face safety and security risks with CSX running their freight today. We know that. DC and you, Mayor Gray, I believe have worked for many years to protect our citizens from already a bad situation. What we're looking at now is making this situation exponentially worse. The risk is what CSX is carrying. They're carrying hazmats and chemicals and crude oil. We've seen Canada, Ohio, and North Dakota explosions recently. We also have information about CSX's accident rates. In 2012, they had 228 accidents. That's 1.7, an average of 1.7 days per accident. 6 deaths, 18 injuries. In November, the Center for American Progress did a report. They said CSX, as of 2013, had had 212 accidents. 99 of them were derailments, 64 of them included cars that had hazardous materials. They rated CSX as the railroad company in the United States with the worst record. There's examples close to our home. November, as many of you may know, there were cars that caught on fire. There was actually a derailment in 2009 in the Virginia Avenue Tunnel. But what I'm asking you, Mayor Gray, is do not let DC be the guinea pig for CSX. They have never conducted a project like this before. They claimed Pittsburgh was similar. Pittsburgh was not a similar project. That was an industrial area. The residential was set back from the construction zone. It was a much smaller size, scope, and budget. We have worked very hard to do the best we can with the situation right now. Do not allow CSX to proceed with their plans to expand, have a larger footprint in the district, temporary or permanent, as both are proposed. And also, we do not want them to increase the risk to our health, our safety, and the whole district as a whole. There are other reasonable alternatives that have not been considered in the DEIS. One of them is rerouting during construction. This would shorten the construction time period. This would keep us away from some of the risks of having construction next to trains operating. And it also is the way to limit and reduce the footprint of the CSX railroad. Thank you very much for being here.
And lastly, we have James McPhillips. Oh, excuse me. Rose, who is a resident of Capper Carrollsburg and also a resident of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Mayor, welcome to our community, and welcome to all of you all that's here. I just want to say that I was a 16-year resident at Arthur Cable Carrollsburg. They moved us. I'm back down there, okay? And why I'm back down there now, I'm fighting now a train. Why am I fighting a train? Our seniors, our children, they have grown up, but I see a lot of families that has babies, pregnant, then bought these homes. Why didn't this, I don't understand why this wasn't in the plan before these people purchased their homes. Yeah. I don't understand. So now y'all gonna say and do and try to, for us to accept that y'all gonna come down here and have us breathing toxic, and then 10 years somebody comes up with lung cancer or any other disease breathing? Our seniors deserve better. We have 3 apartments down there that are seniors. And we have families that I see twins. I see a lot of children that's in that community running around, enjoying their community. I see a lot of homeowners. I see low-income people that was displaced and back down there enjoying the life and the fruit of the harvest that their fathers and mothers and everyone down there died. You are stepping on our blood down there. And you're going to come back and tell us we got to live with a train, a double-decker 2, and you're going to tell me that it's only going to take, what? 6? No. Tell us it's going to take 10 to 15 years, because it took us 6 years to get back down there in our homes. Don't give us the okie doke. Please, please, please have compassion for our seniors, our children, our schools, our environment, that people are working down there. Do not do this. Find another alternative to do this train. Do not. And we're not accepting it. The homeowners, the children, the schools, even the business down there. You're going to chase a lot of people away. You're going to chase the people that is going to come down there for the stadium. You're going to chase away people that have small business down there because they don't want to breathe it. So please, have considerate of our community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rose. And lastly, we have James McPhillips, who is also a resident of Virginia Avenue at 3rd Street Southeast.
Thank you, David. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. We are in fact here tonight because the District of Columbia has been empowered as a decision maker for this. As a decision maker, under your direction, sir, DDOT has the legal authority to withhold approval for this project. As a decision maker, under your direction, DDOT has the legal authority to mandate conditions on whether this project proceeds. Mr. Mayor, not only do you have the power to exercise your authority, but we also believe you have the duty to exercise this authority. In fact, you and Mr. Hamid referenced NEPA earlier. Congress passed NEPA in 1969 for precisely this reason. Congress created the NEPA process to empower the public through our elected local representatives to weigh in and contest projects such as this that would result in severe negative impacts to the health and safety of the community. We have heard from many of my neighbors tonight already about some of the health and safety risks, and we'll open up to the floor in a moment here to hear about other concerns that people have. But one thing is clear: on the other side of the ledger, there is no benefit to the district that we love. In order to expand its tunnel, CSX wants a permanent gift of public land. Allowing CSX to expand freight through the tunnel creates bottlenecks for passenger and commuter rail in the district. The district would suffer road closures and traffic backups for years. And most importantly, the burden of CSX's proposal falls squarely on the backs of district residents.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, your peers in other cities have shown great leadership. Just this past year, mayors in Seattle, Washington, and in Long Beach, California, the mayors there took a stand against similar projects that would have uprooted their communities. A couple years ago, Mayor Bloomberg in New York faced a similar tunnel project that would have destroyed a thriving urban community in his city. Mr. Bloomberg said, quote, "When you get done looking at all the pros and cons, the answer is we should not build this tunnel." Mr. Mayor, we are looking for you to exercise the same leadership for us tonight. Sir, we are asking you to direct DDOT to suspend and withhold all approvals for this project unless and until CSX proposes reasonable alternatives that preserve and protect our health and safety, mitigate the harm to district residents, and don't destroy our vibrant community that we have worked so hard to build. We have asked CSX to analyze safer and more reasonable alternatives, such as Claire mentioned, rerouting trains during construction, but that request has fallen on deaf ears. Meanwhile, CSX is trying to charge ahead and get this approved before district transportation planners can finalize a comprehensive and holistic approach to how the rail system in this city is shaped for generations to come. The district's long-term transportation goals should not be permanently shaped by what CSX believes is best for itself. In a few moments, we'll open the floor to the rest of the community so they can be heard directly. But again, Mr. Mayor, we are asking for your leadership. We are asking for your support in protecting our health and safety from the risks presented by this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you all. We're going to open the floor to a question and answer period that Mayor Gray will be moderating for us. We do ask that if you can be heard from your seat, you can certainly speak up loudly for the crowd. If not, we are going to have a microphone set up right over here, and if I could just get the folks in this aisle to kind of widen it. There's a little space right up front, folks, if you want some comfy seating on the rug. That's what we have to offer right now. And certainly, we want to make sure the questions that you have and the concerns that you have are raised. We have Mayor Gray for a few more, and we'll give the time signal when time's up. But here you are, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Is this on? Yeah. Can you hear me? No. This is not new. Shoes down, not too close. How about now?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
All right, I want to thank.
Turn it off.
Angle.
Can you hear? No. How about now? Okay. I want to thank you all for the presenters for having presented a very clear and succinct statement of what a number of the concerns are. And what I'd like to do is to try to be able to hear from some of the rest of you. I took copious notes as people were speaking. We'll have others of folks who are with us to do the same thing as you present additional concerns, and then we'll try to get back with you with some answers. I think, this is obviously a very complicated process. I think we have a sense of what DDOT's role is. Some of the authority has been delegated to the DDOT director. That's why he's not here tonight. And he will hear from some of his staff as well on the concerns that have been raised. I suspect he's heard some of these concerns already. So let's open it up. Who would like to have the first comment or question? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for coming this evening. I'm really worried about the community and our health during any process that unfurls, that we'd be able to gain access to our community, we'd have parking for our families and for our guests to visit, and that we have ample parking for the wide variety of businesses that are currently developing in this new part of our city. And this is really nothing more than taking public land and giving it to a company for private profit. It doesn't give it the freight would even have right-of-way over any passenger use of those lines, further complicating any future plans for public transportation that uses rail. And then I have to look at 4 parts of our government. In the event of an emergency, DCRA, are they going to be there when we need them? There's asbestos in that tunnel. Right now you call and you get a message that they'll call you back in 24 hours. You call the other number, message, message, message. By 4 times you're back to the first call and you talk to nobody. We can't wait in an emergency for non-functioning government agencies. And DDOT, I'd have to look to their competency. They're the lead in this. And I don't have any certainty. In public space arena, I've been following up for 5 months over a brand new sidewalk that was ripped out. I haven't even received a call back. Their sign shop is still producing